How does it feel to taste your own medicine, Weasel? Welcome back, everyone. And today, Wargaming has released a new mechanic for Cold War. That's the Gatling gun. That mechanic actually applies to both World War II and Cold War. However, the one in Cold War has the new overheating mechanic. And despite this tank having 52,000 plus DPM, it is balanced. Because that DPM is theoretical DPM, you cannot maintain it because of the overheating gun. So let me put your mind at ease. That was the biggest worry. If the tank is toxic or not, this tank is not toxic. It's balanced. It is a mid-tier. It is a decent tank. It is not toxic. It is not OP. It's not broken. Can't say the same about World War II tank. So before going any further, let's go over the setup I'm using. For my equipment, I'm using Camonet, vents, and traction system. For skills, I'm using Bond Leader, Rapid Loading, Snapshot, Sixth Sense, Supply Conservation, Armor Angling, Track Mechanic, Run and Gun. The 8th one is Steady Aim. You don't have to use Steady Aim as you'll never be fully aimed. You could use any other skill. I'm just using a crew from a similar tank. That's why I use this. You can see this skill. You might even opt out against using a Snapshot skill if you want, because this tank fights close range, and go for something else if you would like. But that's the setup I'm using, not specific tailored towards it, but it works well enough. So we're in Desful and went to the middle and already deleted a Weasel. He didn't even get a chance to react. So what is this tank? As mentioned above, it does have the overheat mechanic. The tank, mid-tier tank with 2700 HP, 50% silver boost. I have traction so that it goes faster. However, the tank has terrible penetration. It is only 92. You do reload once when you start the game, and if you switch the shells. Otherwise, you don't have to reload. It's just the overheat if you keep pressing your trigger. So you have to use the burst damage to make the most of the tank. The tank does have 10 degrees of gun depression, and there is a 0.5 seconds of spin up delay. So if you see a target and you press the trigger, it'll take 0.5 seconds for the gun to spin up before you could fire. The tank does have 1000 shell velocity. It's a decent shell velocity, but the main question is, how much is the exact DPM of this tank? The article stated close to 53,000. But in reality, as you can see, I was almost overheated when I killed a Weasel. So the best you can do is close to 10,000 DPM, but again, you will not pen all of the shots because of the low pen, and you have to wait for the situation. So the tank, why it's not broken? It's not a light tank. You can't just run around invisible and clip people. You will always be spotted. Despite being a medium, you can get spotted pretty easily as it's a big medium. And when you're aiming, if you're exposed up a little longer, you have to aim for either the side of the tanks or the hatches. And if you get overheat, you can easily get ambushed by other tanks that are close by, and you can even get shot by the light tanks with missiles. This tank does counter Weasel very well. So we had Monster Jagger that was added that countered every other missile tank. Then Weasel was added that countered Monster Jagger, and now we have GAU-8 Black that pretty well counters Weasel and does improve the era 2 matchmaking. You might see a little bit of more of these tanks right now, but these tanks do force a slower gameplay, as light tank doesn't want to run around, as they might meet one of these newer tanks, and you see what happened to Weasel. You can easily delete the light tanks, especially when they're close, as you will not bounce any of the shots. However, if you want to deal tanks with more armor, you have to be careful, because what you can do is you can track them and then start penning their hatches. You won't pen most of your shots, but at least you will not feel helpless. Also, the way to kill this tank is actually in the turret. So if you're facing another GAU, do not shoot the hull, you will bounce the shots. You can actually more reliably do damage to the turret. Turret is weak despite of how it looks. And as you can see here, I overheated and now basically I'm out of the game. It takes 18 seconds for it to release the lock. If it's locked out for the overheat, and now even after that, it's not completely cooled down, and you still have to wait for cooldown after it's overheated. So that's why I was saying the effective or the usable DPM comes around at 10,000 with 92 pen, and the tank is slow. You can go, let's say, plus minus 2,000 depending on the situation. I didn't do that like exact idle calculation, but that's where it comes down to. if you're using the burst damage, if you're using only up to the first bar. So as you can see in the overheat, there are 3 bars. When the next match starts, we'll go over that. But to maximize the DPM, you have to just use the first bar, which is approximately 50% of the heat overheat bar, and you can go over it. It won't lock down until you completely fill up the bar, but you just have to remember you will be out of the game, and it takes longer to cool down. So it's always best to use half of the bar while playing this tank, and that's on the right side, as I was mentioning. So if you look at the right side, there are 3 separate bars. The biggest bar at the bottom on the right side, then there is a slightly smaller bar, and then there's one more at the top. So you just want to stay in the first arc, close to the reticle for the maximized DPM, and you should be able to hit between around 10,000 plus minus 2,000, depending on how you can optimize it. The tank does have 0.01 second of interclip and 3,500 of base rounds per minute. Again, the problem not achievable. The damage is 15, 5 module damage. I didn't put Deadeye on the crew because the clip is so long, you end up killing the tank yourself. However, for the last kill, you can go for Deadeye to help with the module damage, as it is it's an autocannon or a new type of autocannon. And while playing this tank, just don't be by yourself. You're not fast, you're not Vishaw, you can't just go kill a tank and run away. You have to be safe, or you have to be with the team. You need teammates to protect you while, as it's a burst, right? You're using the burst, and burst will not kill a tank, especially if you're facing multiple tanks, and accidentally if you ended up overheating, then that's it for you, as they'll just push you, since you'll be out of the game for approximately 30 seconds to completely cool down. And if you know the weak spots, you can pen some of the heavies, the side or front. But even if you can't pen them, always you have the option to just track them with this the gun. So never hesitate to track, as even if you might not have shots, it will immobilize the opponent, and someone from your team might have shots, and then you can rack up assist damage pretty quickly. I did buy this tank. The tank was available by itself for 30%. I went for the tier 10 as well as the Cold War bundle for 60%. Got it for 14,000. This is the only tanks that I do buy during the Black Friday, because they are heavily discounted. I usually buy tier 10s as well if they are discounted as well, because those are the only tanks I buy. But besides tier 10s, I also go for the black tank bundles because they're special. Usually the only thing I do recommend people buying is the season pass and the ultimate season pass, and do not buy any other tanks that come in between, as those does not justify the price. But black tanks are just an exception. Besides the tier 10 that I buy, it's just my personal preference. So nonetheless, again, found a Magach, and he's gone. 4,900 damage. We did 10,000 last game, close to 4,900 damage in this game. However, I kind of forced the trigger and ended up overheating, and as you can see, I can't do anything for a while. And even now it started to cool down, but it still takes a while for it to completely cool down. And that's what you want, right? And all of this could be avoided by managing your clip. The more you play with this tank, you will have the muscle memory of how long to pull the trigger. And as you saw, the Weasel decided to come, and did not go well for him. Was able to kill him pretty easily, reliably, and because he was auto aiming my front, he was hitting my hull and ended up bouncing most of his shots. If he had aimed for my turret manually, he probably could have damaged me, still not killed me. But when you're driving, you can't really aim in most of the situations, because if he stops, then I just kill him way quickly than he could kill me. So if a Weasel, you have to get him side on. By the way, Chieftain spotted with his side exposed, and he's gone. So let me know what you think about this tank. The tank, in my opinion, it's not toxic, it's not broken. I think they implemented the Cold War overheating mechanic really well. But let me know in comments what you think about this tank, and if you're planning to get it. that's it for this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.